What's up, man?
What's going on?
All good. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the king of fitness, the king of keto, the upcoming king of entrepreneurship, Mr. Brandon Carter. How you doing, man?
How are you? Great. Thank you so much for having me.
We did a top 10 on Brandon. If you guys aren't super familiar with this story, go check that out. It was an honor putting together, tons of fun. Diving into your story, it's amazing, everything you had to go through. The thing that just stands out for me is just the dedication, the commitment, just like the everyday. And I think whether people are chasing their entrepreneurial goals or fitness goals or life goals, how do you stay committed to chasing your dreams every day?
A lot of people have that issue. They want to accomplish something, and you have to do X, Y, and Z to get to that goal, like every day. And I think you can get real frustrated, because you seem like you're working hard every day, but you're not really you're not always progressing as fast as you like, and it's kind of like, when you see a kid, like a kid grow, it's like if you see him on Monday, you see him on Tuesday, it looks like he didn't grow at all, right? But he really, if you see him a year later, right, it's like, wow, he grew a lot, because the amount he grew each day was negligible. And it's the same way with your goals. And I just keep that in mind, right? I'm not trying to hit home runs every day, right? I'm just trying to get that little bit every day, that little bit, because I know after a month, after a year, after 10 years, it'll be substantial. It all adds up. But I think we get frustrated day to day because we're looking for immediate results, but that almost never happens. It doesn't even happen in nature, It doesn't even happen in nature. You plant a seed, you come back 2 days later, and you look at the ground, damn, this goddamn seed hasn't done anything, but it's done something negligible, from day to day. But when you come back in a month, then you see some progress. I try to keep that in mind, I'm not looking for big things each day, incremental.
So is that what you tell yourself every morning? I want little tiny gains, I'm a seed?
Something like that. I say that I want to do all I can do each day, right? Because I know it's not going to be a huge jump, right? So I want to get as much as I can, squeeze the life out of the day. The book, The Secret, allegedly that book, she based it off another book she read called The Science of Getting Rich, by a guy named Wallace Wattles. Now, what part she left out in that book, no less than 50 times, the authors wrote, and do all that can be done each day. Right? Do all that can be done each day. And in my wall at home, I had that printed out, it's on the wall. And that's way different than working on your goals each day, right? That's way different than working hard each day. That's do all that can be done each day. Go all out. Because I know that will add up. That will add up. So if you be consistency always wins.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. And in watching your videos when we were making the top 10, one of the things that resonated with me was you're making YouTube videos, and I make videos every day, and you can there's rarely a day I don't make a video. You can bet on me making a video, and it's the same thing for me, man. 4 years ago I had 7,000 subscribers. Now we're at 1.6 million. Because every day it's 2 to 3 videos every day for 4 years.
Wow, 2 to 3 every day.
2 to 3 every day for 4 years, from 7,000 subs to 1.6 million. And so I see us as being along the same path. And I love your message of anybody can do it. I'm not that special. You're not that special. But what we've done is special. And so the unlock, because most people, they would love to be you in 3 years, but they don't want to put in the work to get there. They have a hard time staying consistent. They don't know if it's going to work out or not.
Yeah.
And so I think how do you unlock that in people? Because you think that what you've done, other people can do. They can get the same muscle gains. They can get the same entrepreneurial success, but they're just not putting in the work consistently.
Yeah.
What do you tell them?
I'm the guy who's kind of mean sometimes. When I'm talking to people or coaching them or mentoring them, and not because I want to be good, because I feel like that's sometimes people just need to hear the truth. And the truth is, you're probably not working hard enough, man. If you want to accomplish what I've accomplished or what I'm doing, you need to work as hard as you can. I'm up at 4 a.m., 4:30 every day. You know, like I'm going for it, and I work until 7. Like or whatever. I'm putting in like 12, 14-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, and I've been doing that for years. So like, I wouldn't get frustrated if it took you longer to accomplish what I've accomplished, because if you're not working as hard, you know, and that's cool. Like that's cool. Like maybe if your ambitions aren't the same, that don't work, then you don't need to work as hard, right? But if your ambitions, you got different kind of ambitions, and your work ethic has to match your ambition. And I'm just like real about it, you know, like how many hours you put in, you know, you put in the reps. And if they're not, then I'm like, yo, listen, you can expect failure or some suboptimal results. Like if I wanted to get to where you are, man, there's a formula, right? If I, you know, like there's a formula. I want 1.5 million subs, all right, 3 videos a day for 4 years, 4 years. You know, that's the formula. You laid it out. There's no tricks. Like it's not even like, I mean, I'm sure you have like little things, you know, SEO things, but that's just minor compared to the reps, I would imagine, right? Would you,
100%.
Yeah, it's the work ethic, man. It's the work ethic. You just gotta. So consistency always wins. That's what I believe, and like you're an example of that too. Consistency always wins.
So if you go back, like you had this job working for your buddy's moving company, you're doing like already 12 hours a day of like backbreaking work.
Yeah.
Then you take the weekend job to bring in more income, and then you're like, hey, I want to build my business. Like I think a lot of people can relate.
Yeah.
But they don't, like, I'm tired, I come back, I've worked 12 hours, I'm moving all day long. How do I get the energy to work on my company? I already have another weekend job. Like, people live in that land of excuses. So is that where you just turn up on them and say, hey, it's possible?
I'm just like, yeah, man, it's you can do that. You can do it. Or don't, right? Like, that's cool. Like, if you don't have the energy, all right, then don't do it, man. If you want to relax, if you want to take it easy, then take it easy, man. If you want to take it to the next level, you got to do all that can be done each day. Like, I mean, that's just really the key, man. Like, I'm not that smart. I'm not even that special. It's just relentless work ethic, you know, just relentless. I'll stop at nothing, you know. So, like, if you don't want it bad enough, you don't tell me you can't. Don't just say you're not willing to, because that's the truth, you know. If you, here's the thing, if you put a gun to one of their family members' heads and say, hey, you got to work like this, you know, for a week, they would do it, right? So they have the capacity. It's the will, right? It's never, like, I don't like to ever hear can't. It's like will, but I'm not willing to do it. Don't ever say can't. And that's okay if you're not willing. Like, there was a time when I wanted to be a doctor, and then I realized how long they had to go to school, and I was like, yeah, I'm not willing to do that. And I made peace with that, but I didn't complain. I never complained about that. I just luckily I wasn't willing to go down that path, so I majored in business. You know what I'm saying? Like, where I can get a 4-year degree, and I'm fine with that. If that makes sense.
One of the things I loved in making the video on you was you're talking about doing the boring stuff. So when people come and they see you and it's like, yeah, here I am working in the gym and models and covers of magazines and it looks all glorious, but it's like, hey, you know what? Like most of my day is doing really, really boring stuff. Talk about that.
Boy, I know you can relate to that, right? Because you know, editing videos is not the most exciting work in the world. You know, I would imagine, you know, especially as many, like you got thousands of videos, right? How many videos do you have?
We have 6,000, 5,000 are public.
5,000 are public, and I would imagine, at least in the beginning, you edited the majority of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hours a day, and then you got to do the research, and like, especially your style of video, because you got to go find the right clips, and you got to download stuff, and then it looks like your stuff is scripted. It's not like off the head, so like you got to write a script, and all of that is, I would imagine that was born. Some of that work is like, it's not exciting. Right? I think they like the idea of being a YouTuber or the idea of being like famous or popular. However, it's when they realize what it takes, a lot of people are just not used to it. And I think, man, if I'm being honest, I think it's, even though most people are watching this on the phone, it's like, I think these phones, they've made it worse. Because now we're just addicted to that consistent dopamine rush, and we're that consistent novelty. It's like our brains are kind of crave it now, and like we train ourselves from, especially like the young people from a young age, and as a result, they're not as used to or able to sitting down and doing boring stuff. But that's what you need to succeed. Like, it's not all fun and games. You know, you do what you have to in the present so you can have what you want in the future. I mean, you got to sacrifice the present for the future. But like most people, they rather do what's fun and exciting like right now, and they end up sacrificing the future for the present. And then they wonder why their lives don't change. You know, and it's sad because no one teaches. In fact, like I heard, you know, Kanye West.
Yeah.
This is gonna make sense.
He's on my wall. He's on my wall right there.
Bro, I'm a huge fan. I'm from Chicago. He's, you know, South Side Chicago. Like, so, and people were mad when he was talking to Trump. But the only part that really made me mad, is when he said we need to make school more fun and teach kids math and basketball at the same time. And I was like, no, we can't teach these kids how to avoid doing the boring stuff. Like, they have part of being an adult and accomplish stuff is getting used to doing the boring stuff, the hard stuff. If they're never in an environment where they cultivate that skill, then they'll never really be able to succeed at a trade or really anything. You know, unless they just even being an actor, right? You have to sit and memorize lines, and being on a set is boring. Like, I've been on sets, it's boring. Like, even an actor, if you want to be a professional soccer player, right? You got to do all these drills, or a basketball player has to do all these free throws. It's not fun and exciting. You know, like, even the exciting jobs come from learning how to doing the boring stuff over again. Would you agree? Like, from what you've seen, like, does that make sense? Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of just getting the work done. There's a lot. If it's something consistent, I try to offload that. You know, I try to hire a team. Like, I realize editing is not my forte, so I've got 24 people on my team. Sure. I want to offload that. But like at the beginning, it's all me. Everything. I do everything. Yeah. Everything. Every new project is me all the way. And then as I build it up, then I start bringing on a team to surround myself with.
Yeah, and that's good. Like, that's how you optimize yourself, right? Because but in the beginning, that you got to get there. You got to get there. I'm sure you do less stuff that you hate now, but I'm sure there's still some. You know, like, especially. Like, you have 20, you say you have 20-something employees?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have 15, right? And it's, you know, there's parts of that are difficult. You know, like, it's like it never gets, like, easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody they want it to be easy, but I think you should be happy that it's hard, because that's your willingness to do what's hard is what's going to separate you.
So Instagram, there's a lot of people posting motivational stuff, inspirational stuff, but then they're not actually doing the action. Like, if you actually look behind the curtains, they're posing, or they're just posting somebody's quote, but then they're not actually going off and doing it. Yeah. And I think one of the great parts about your stuff is you start now speaking truth, and when you turn up and start yelling at people, you're like, it's actual truth, which is great. But talk about bridging that gap. It's like, if somebody wants to be inspired, it's great. Like, they're getting inspired by a quote, but then it's still just not happening for them. How do you bridge the gap from inspiration to action?
Yeah, and that inspiration stuff is like, it's like a quick dopamine hit. It's like what we talked about earlier. You know, it's a quick dopamine hit, but it might give you some motivation to take some action momentarily. But motivation can hurt you. Motivation holds you back, because you're never going to be motivated all the time. Like, human beings are going to go through the full spectrum of emotions. Sometimes you're going to be motivated. Sometimes you're going to feel kind of lazy, right? Sometimes you're going to be happy. Sometimes you're going to be sad. Sometimes you're going to be confident. Sometimes you're going to be insecure. And that's everyone. That's all of us, right? So if you can only work when you're motivated, then it's your likelihood of success is low, because you can't be as consistent. You won't be consistent. And consistency is key, like we talked about earlier. So you don't really need motivation. What you need is discipline, man. Right? Discipline means you do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, whether you feel like it or not. Right? It's whether you feel like it or not. That's discipline. And the problem with motivation is, because when you're motivated, you're like, man, I'm excited. I can't wait. I want to get after it. Right? You're not using discipline when you're motivated. Right? You know what I'm saying? You're literally not using discipline when you're motivated. And what happens if you only work when you're motivated, you never build that discipline muscle. The more you use discipline, the stronger it gets, and the more you can deploy it against your goals. But if you're only working when you're motivated, then that discipline muscle may begin to atrophy, right? You know what I'm saying? Now you're dependent on some sort of motivation to actually get going, and you'll never be motivated all the time. So you'll never be consistent, and it's a disservice. I think it's beautiful when you're not motivated and you don't feel like doing. That's the most important time to work. When you don't feel like it, because that's the only time you get to use your discipline, right? And the more you use your discipline, the stronger it gets, and the more successful you will be as a result. I think all power comes from discipline. I think it's the cornerstone of success. Everything is predicated on how much discipline you have. I really start to believe that. Like, I don't know everything about success, right? But I believe, at least in my life, discipline is the cornerstone to all success, achievement, and long-term happiness.
I mean, I think it's also the foundation of self-respect. Like, when you get up and you do the thing that's difficult to do, that you didn't think you could do, or you don't have the motivation to do, but then you still do it, that's how you absolutely build self-respect for yourself.
Yeah.
Where if you only do it where it's easy, like if you ran a race against 3-year-olds and you won, like, who cares? Like, you got the result of winning, but it's not real winning.
Yeah, you can't hang your hat on that. You know, you can't look at that and say, "Oh, I'm proud." You know, I'm proud of that. Like, you can't hang that trophy on your wall. Like, I got this. The two Comma Club Award for when you do over $1 million in sales selling your stuff with their software, and they give you that award. And that's what I'm proud of, right? Like, like they said, like about less than 5% of all businesses hit the $1 million mark, and so like that's something I can be proud of. But if that was easy, if like 95% of businesses did that, I wouldn't be on the wall. It would be nothing. It'd be like getting an LLC, like me being proud of registering for that. You know,
right?
You know, you're right, man. That's a really good point. The fact that
people celebrating the wrong things.
Yeah. You think that people are taught that a little bit, like when we had the participation trophies and prizes for 4th and 5th place. You think that that's taught a little bit in our culture in America? I don't know if they do that in other countries. But.
Yeah, we have that. I mean, I'm Canadian. We have that too.
Oh yeah, you got that in there. Oh yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this around discipline. I have a weird philosophy, and see what you think about this. Let me run it by you. Since you're the king of nutrition and eating and diet and all that. So the common advice when people are starting to diet is get rid of the junk food out of your house, get rid of it out of your condo, like clear it out so you're not tempted. And I think that that's a good start, but ultimately it makes you weaker, because whenever you go now and you're not in your perfect environment, you cheat. Like, you go on a vacation or you go somewhere else, and like now you're screwed because you haven't built the muscle, because you've just made your environment support your weak behaviors. So I have a strategy called Damn the Doritos, and so I have this giant bag of Doritos kind of sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
And it's because I own you, Doritos. It's like the Doritos don't own me.
I like that.
I own you, Doritos. I'm the weird duck, and like that doesn't work for people. But what are your thoughts of somebody who is trying to get healthy, get on a diet, like lose some weight, start to build up, on getting rid of the junk food from their condo as a long-term strategy?
I think you're right. I think you have to develop that. I find initially, man, is the average person lacks discipline so much that it's probably a good strategy to avoid it. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I use some avoidance tactics too. Like, I keep my phone on airplane mode when I'm working, or like it was initially, it was like kind of hard for us to get in touch, and that was my fault, because I have 2 phones. I got my social media stuff on this, right? But this is a phone that's like it's really just Uber and text messages and email. This is like just a phone I use as a phone. And this is where I got all the crap, right? Because, man, if I keep this on all the time, like, I'll fall victim to it. And I feel like I'm pretty disciplined, but I don't know if you can be disciplined in all things. Right? Like, I think that, right, you see these athletes, they have to be tremendously disciplined to get to where they are, but then you see them, like, be caught up in some scandal or something. There needs to be a combination. I like what you do, because I keep ice cream in my freezer, and I wait till my cheat day, and I look at it, every day ice cream. I'm not today, but there was a time when I wouldn't be able to do that, right? So I built myself up. There's something to it, but I don't know if you should do that with everything. Because if you tempt yourself too much, have you ever read the book called Willpower?
No.
Yeah, but it's a good book, man. I think I have it around somewhere. So basically, they did some studies, and they're saying that like this is the book Willpower, Crazy Human Strength.
Yeah.
And they did a bunch of studies, and they were saying that the amount of discipline you have is like kind of finite. You know what I mean? Like, it's not infinite. And you can make it stronger, obviously, like you're doing with the Doritos. But maybe until you built up some discipline, like you're probably more disciplined than the average person.
Sure.
I think you have to build it up to the point, because I know I'm not disciplined in all things. Like I know there's some things I just have to stay away from.
At least I see in your story, it's transitioned well in that, like the discipline to hold down those jobs and break your back every day, to then like bringing that into your health transformation, to then bringing it to your business. Like when you pick the thing that you want to be focused on, you seem to be really good at just saying, I'm doing this, it's going to be boring, I'm going to put my head down for 3 years and do it every day, and then I'm going to win.
Yeah. That's what it takes, I think people need to realize, and I'm sure you can attest to this, people don't talk about this a lot. I wish they would talk more. All the stuff you have to give up, like all the stuff you have to give up. Like, I can't, like you said, I had 2 jobs, and I was personal training, I was training people and trying to build my business at the same time. So I was working like 14-hour days, 7 days a week, and I did that for 2 years straight, I don't remember seeing any movies. I don't remember going to any like barbecues. I remember missing every, birthday party, or, like missing whole summers of fun, And I don't think people talk about the sacrifice that you have to make, have to give it up. And if you're willing to do that, like a lot of people beat themselves up because they think they fall victim, but maybe they're really not willing to sacrifice those things. And that's cool. Like maybe you got kids and you say, you know what? I have to spend less time with my family, accomplish goal. Maybe being with the kids is more important. Maybe, maybe your family is more important to you. It's not to me, right? Like I will accomplish my goals at all costs. But I think it's because I come from so much pain. From like so much like severe poverty that like I'm like almost afraid of that. Like it's for me, it's almost less that I'm running towards something. It's like I'm running away from the past. So like, I have a different motivation, but that's cool. Like, it's not a judgment, but I think people need to be clear about that. Like, you have to give up a lot, I'm sure, to accomplish.
Yeah, man. I gave up Doritos, like I love it. I think your purpose comes from your pain. Like, I think the thing that was so painful, you want to make sure you never go back to ever again. And then also you want to inspire people to never have to feel that same pain that you felt. What you see is what you're doing with all your content and your transformation. And now is it continue down? So you've had your transformation. Now you're getting into entrepreneurship and you're building your business, and a couple of years of not paying yourself anything to build up your company. Now starting to make money and win awards and all that. Do you want to? You want to help other people become entrepreneurs as well, and like give them a path to break out of their situation?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I have I've been coaching a lot of other like fitness entrepreneurs and helping them build their own online businesses. Man, we've had like this crazy success. Like people, it's not uncommon for someone to start working with us and they go from like zero or maybe just a little bit of money to in their fitness business to making like $5,000-$10,000 a month within like 90 days. That's like not uncommon at all for us. If anybody's interested, I have a Facebook group called Elite Fitness Entrepreneurs. I'll put it on my story after this or something, so you can get a link to it. But Elite Fitness Entrepreneurs, and man, we just had a crazy success stories, man. Like there's one girl named Anna Quinn. She's from Houston, and she came to me. She heard me speak at my buddy Bedros' fitness business summit, and after it, she asked me to coach her. And she was working like me, then like 14-hour days, like she was training people one-on-one. She wanted more time, and, like freedom, to accomplish her goals. And she started working with me, and then within like 60 days, man, she got this $10,000 a month online, right? And she was able to like get rid of like almost all her in-person clients. And last month she did $20,000, right? Now she's able to travel around. She's got a boyfriend now, and like she's got a life. And I don't know, that feels good to me because I remember just being a trainer, just working one-on-one. You feel like you're to the ceiling. You feel like you can't really. You're trading time for money, and that's fine. Especially we like trainers, we like training, right? But at the same time, there's things you want to do, there's things you want to have, And when you get that income on your ceiling, you want to evolve. And it's like, I'm very privileged to be able to help so many trainers accomplish that. It's really cool. And I don't feel like there's any competition or anything, because someone who wanted training with that girl, like, wouldn't want training with me, right? Like, we are two different markets. And that's something I teach people, how to differentiate yourself so you're not competing with other people. Like, so you're like specialized in something.
Right.
Kind of like how you're YouTube, you're not competing with like Logan Paul, right? Like it's very niche what you do. In fact, there is no competition. You invented you almost like you invented a genre, you know.
And I think there's always room for quality at the top.
Yeah.
Like if people want to be a personal trainer, like if you're good, there's still tons of opportunity for you just because there's a million other personal trainers. Like there's always room for quality at the top.
The cream always rises to the top.
Always, man.
Always.
Listen, dude, I know we're kind of getting short on time. I really appreciate all your wisdom advice. Like if you had to leave my audience with one final message from Brandon Carter, this is what they need to hear and know, what do you think?
This is how I approach my goals, right? Results come from actions, right? Whatever actions you take, you're going to have a result, right? So if you have random results, if you're working sometimes, if you're working randomly on your goals, you're going to get random results, right? You're not going to be able to depend on it. So what you want to do is, like we talked about this whole time, you want to be consistent. Consistent actions will yield consistent results, right? Now, massive action will yield massive results. Okay. Now, but still, massive results, that doesn't necessarily mean success. What kind of result, what kind of actions do you need to take to make success like inevitable? Like it's like you can't fail, to make it impossible to fail. What kind of actions do I take? For example, if there's a fly in here, I can like swat at it hard, right? Massively hard. I still might miss, right? But if I drop a bomb on a building, I'm definitely going to kill that fly. So, like, what would be the equivalent for your goals? Like, whatever you're trying to accomplish, take the amount of action that makes failure impossible. And it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be hard, and everyone's going to think it's crazy, but I don't see how you can fail with that.
I love it, man. Yeah. Brandon Carter, ladies and gentlemen. Dude, thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Thank you, man. It's been great, man. Thank you so much.
Love it. Man. Thanks, man.
Awesome, brother. Take it easy.
Talk to you soon. Cheers.
Also, if you want to know what I think and what other successful entrepreneurs think about building confidence, check out my new 254 Confidence series, where every day for the next 254 days for free, I will send you a 30-second to 5-minute video in the morning to help you build unstoppable confidence. The link is in the description below.
If you want to be more confident, you need to surround yourself with things that make you feel confident. Realizing that any big endeavor is the collection of a lot of small steps that came before. If you're doing work that you love, you're more likely to follow through. You're more likely to do it because it doesn't feel like work, because you love doing it.
So let me give you the one-word secret to happiness. One word. This is all you need to be happy.
The most important word ever.
If you had to think of one word that's most important to you, or that sums you up, or that would be kind of like a little beacon.
If you want more Brandon Carter, check out the top 10 rules video that I did on him. The link is right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Sooner or later, you want to stop being a victim. Be a victor. You want to stop being a whiner and start being a winner.